Hello out there. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of music from none other than Natani Nez Means with in True Pride Music. We do apologize for those little bit of English swear words, but given what's out there on the internet, what's out there in mainstream media, we do not have any problem letting artists express themselves. And I do want to thank you all for joining us on such short notice, pretty much no notice. But if you're paying attention to the work that not only Lakota Law is doing, but the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe, the Oglala Sioux Tribe, and Yankton, as well as the entire Ocheti Shakoni, and our allies, other native nations, other indigenous nations, indigenous peoples, not just in what is called the United States, but above, northward of the medicine line. We have a lot of indigenous peoples who've been fighting the tar sands and the fracking industry for a long time. And welcome everybody who's signing on. Please let us know what you think. If you have any questions, I want to give a shout out to anybody who's tuning in: KCEL, Daniel Garber, Becky McCrary, even to the person in the beginning who must have heard a cuss word and said, "What WTF is this? What the heck is this? I'm not used to seeing this on Lakota Law or Last Real Indians." Or on my personal public page. It's called Chase Iron Eyes. And so, what's up, Lish Labarge? We just have a very special report for you because of what has transpired. I know we've all been waiting to hear uh, about what happened in D.C. And if you're not aware, or if you're just tuning in, there was a hearing in Washington, D.C. today concerning the Dakota Access pipeline. And Jan Hasselman of Earth Justice appeared on behalf of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe in this highly anticipated hearing. Just as a reminder, on February 11th, or it could have been February 10th, I don't remember quite sure, but February 10th or 11th, I remember talking to some Standing Rock elders and treaty elders, and we were on the Standing Rock Nation speaking with the Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Council to facilitate and help their efforts that were being coordinated with global celebrities, A-listers, B-listers, D-listers, any and everybody who remembers Standing Rock. Um, Everybody came together and focused their attention and energy on the Dakota Access pipeline. And there was a hearing that was supposed to take place on February 10th. And that was, I was on Standing Rock at that time. Thank you in the comments for giving shout outs to LaDonna Brave Bull Ellard. We want to send our prayers and our intentions and our focus to Auntie LaDonna. We all know that she's battling some health challenges and that she's surrounded by love. She's surrounded by people that are taking care of her. And so we want to recognize that. I just happened to glance down. Maybe I better quit glancing at the comments so I can get through my program here. But I really do. This show is about you. This show is about everybody who tunes in. You could be doing anything on a Friday night, but I also know that because of COVID, I understand that people are staying in, people are staying locked down, they're still sheltering in place, even though they might have had the vaccine, even though they might have survived COVID. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about the Dakota Access Pipeline. There was a hearing that took place today in Washington, D.C., that was supposed to take place more than almost 2 months ago, about 2 months ago. There was a hearing that was supposed to take place, but the Army Corps of Engineers, or somebody in the newly anointed president's office, President Biden, or somebody out there, somebody within in the power structure. They punted this hearing down the line. They kicked the can down the road, so to speak, until today. Today, April 9th, 2021. Well, the hearing concluded today in Washington, D.C., with virtually no change in circumstances, as those circumstances existed the day that Donald Trump became the 45th president of the United States. Within 72 hours of him being sworn in, he forced the Army Corps of Engineers to approve the easement to drill underneath the Missouri River, Mini Shoshe. Now, this river is the longest river system in the country, in our country, and it represents the only source of drinking water for the Standing Rock Nation, for the Cheyenne River Nation, and for 18 million people, 18 million human beings who might call themselves Americans, but who nonetheless depend on the integrity of the Missouri River. Well, if you remember, Donald Trump took office. Within 72 hours of taking office, he ordered the Army Corps of Engineers to go ahead and approve that easement in violation of his own federal laws, in violation of the 1851 and 1868 treaties, which the Ocheti Shakoi, or some of us call it the Great Sioux Nation, the Lakota Nation, and the Dakota, and even our Nakota cousins up there in Carry the Kettle, up there in Stony, the Nakotas. They are also a part of the Confederacy. But Trump violated our free, prior, and informed consent, our right to free, prior, and informed consent under the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, under international law. In to this day, oil still is flowing illegally, and we, the people who were meant to live in Kelsey Warren's sacrifice zone. Kelsey Warren is the billionaire CEO of Energy Transfer Partners, which owns the Dakota Access pipeline. It's us, it's our children who are at risk another day, who have to see DAPL continue to trespass against them and aggress their sovereign interests. Every single day, that pipeline could burst. Every single day, profits are made on our sacrifice. I want to say hello to Wiaka Chasing Hawk. I see he just joined the stream. Everybody who is listening, I can't tell you enough. I appreciate your energy and your time and what you give to not only Cut to the Chase, but any of the organizations that are doing the work. And there are plenty out there. So I want to encourage you to support independent media, independent thinking. Those of us who are on the stream have to trust our own thinking and our own abilities as well. But every single day, profits are being made on our sacrifice. Those people, those 850 people who were arrested during the Ocheti encampment, during the No DAPL struggle, on the sacrifice of all those who were brutalized, some who were traumatized irreparably, and who are still trying to be made whole. For them, the fight goes on. Today is a setback, a temporary setback following years of legal battles over the Dakota Access pipeline. A court ruled in January of 2021, and this was an appellate court, a DC Circuit Court, January 26, 2021. This court ruled that the United States Army Corps of Engineers did not sufficiently evaluate the environmental impacts of the easement. basically recognizing that Trump had violated federal law by forcing the Army Corps of Engineers to issue and grant the easement to Energy Transfer Partners to drill underneath the Missouri River, while Standing Rock and the Ocheti Shakoni suffered the impact, and every other human being and Wamakashka, or what the English speaking world calls the animal nation or the plant nation, or those that swim, those that crawl, we certainly cannot forget them. Wamakashka is a word in Lakota that means sacred beings that move about the earth. And what's worthy of mention is that the two-legged sacred beings that move about the earth are included in that understanding. That we're not above the animals, we're not below them. They are older than us, and we are to respect them. And they are also suffering a dangerous, poisonous, impending impact. Pipelines spill. It's not if, but it's when we will be faced with a very deadly certainty of a spill. We all knew that Trump violated the law that day and that oil still flows illegally to this day in the Dakota Access pipeline. We all knew that. Judge Boasberg even knew that when he shut down the Dakota Access pipeline. He ordered it to be shut down by August 5th, or was it 6th? August 5th or 6th of 2020, Judge Boasberg ordered that the pipeline be shut down and that it be emptied of dirty fracking oil. Now, this is fracked fluid. If you remember, this is Dick Cheney's proprietary poisonous concoction that is flowing through the Dakota Access pipeline at a rate of 570 million. 470 million is another figure we've seen out there, but 570 million barrels of oil every single day. Boasberg ordered it to be shut down, and then Energy Transfer Partners appealed that ruling to this circuit court, this 3-judge panel that issued its decision in January of 2021. And it's a pretty long opinion. I just got through reading through it so I could familiarize myself with this material, because this is going on 5 years. This 35-page opinion came out a couple months ago, and people are susceptible to whatever's in the news cycle, and even I am. Whatever you can click and watch and view within, it used to be 6 seconds with Vine, now it's TikTok. People want to be entertained at increasingly, viscerally loud levels. And I'm guilty of it too. But I read these opinions and I dig deep into the details so that I could communicate them with everybody here who lends us their ear. And this 3-judge panel was hearing Energy Transfer Partners' appeal, and it reversed the lower court's decision to shut down the pipeline. But in the meantime, it said that the lower court did not use the right legal process to do so, and that is the standard of before issuing an injunction. In a NEPA case, a court must determine that an injunction should issue under a traditional 4-factor test. Now, this is going to become relevant because of what happened today, because of the Army Corps, the Department of Justice kicking this down another 30 days. And so the easement was vacated because Judge Boasberg found that under NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act, that is, which was triggered when Energy Transfer Partners wanted to drill under the Missouri. And, you have to understand that the United States considers that to be its land. And thus, under their laws, under federal laws, it would implicate the Mineral Leasing Act. And we just need to do a full stop there, because when I'm speaking as an attorney licensed in their systems, in the colonial systems, sometimes I'm speaking of understanding colonial laws according to them. And then sometimes, because we're indigenous peoples with original sovereignty, we understand our authorities in a different light. And so I just wanted to pause and let you know that I'm expressing my analysis based on a colonial understanding of the law, but with the ability to jump out of there and express it as an indigenous person with prior sovereign rights that inhere in and descend from this very land that is now called the United States or Canada or North America, Central America, South America. Their courts impose this colonial law under the threat of violence and sometimes actually executed in violence. Like somebody in the comment section said, please give a shout out to Vanessa Dundon. And I appreciate that. There's also another brother named Marcus. I forget his last name. He's a Dene brother. They each, Vanessa Dundon and Sophia, Vanessa Dundon lost an eye, and so did brother Marcus. And Sophia Wolanski, of course, was maimed extremely severely from some sort of munitions. And I want to thank Chris Henry for mentioning that in the comment section there. We certainly do want to recognize all of our frontliners and our allies who suffered those brutalities. Anyhow, the easement was vacated on those grounds that Energy Transfer Partners didn't pass the smell test based on this NEPA analysis. And some of those factors have to do with the context and the intensity of these factors and of these pipelines, of these all of these projects, these extractive projects that threaten Mother Earth, threaten our drinking systems, threaten the integrity and sanctity of our lands. The NEPA was designed to deal with that so that we could try to walk in balance with Mother Earth. But based on those grounds, Energy Transfer Partners didn't pass the smell test based on even one of the first factors that was put forth by experts in the opinion, and that is leak detection. The leak detection systems that are used in the Dakota Access pipeline. In answering this question on appeal, the question was, did the Army Corps of Engineers violate NEPA by issuing an easement? Did the Army Corps of Engineers violate the National Environmental Policy Act by granting an easement to Energy Transfer Partners to drill underneath the water, the Missouri River? Did they violate NEPA by doing that without an environmental impact statement? In answering that, the court based this on facts and factors like that 570 million barrels flow through Dakota Access Pipeline every single day. And every single day, we have to rely on this leak detection system, which is completely whack. It according to the experts that were involved in this lawsuit and still are, and namely, that is the Standing Rock tech team. The Standing Rock Sioux Tribe has put forth some of the best experts through their tech team. And I know some members of the tech team, and I just want to give you a shout out, give you a thank you. The young people of Standing Rock and Cheyenne River were recently joined by scores and hundreds of people in Washington, D.C. And this fight has not ended for us, believe me. But anyhow, this leak detection system, they exposed it as being able to detect 1% or less of any given spill. So if you remember, 570 million barrels of oil flowing through DAPL every single day, 1% of that is 5.7 million. 1% of DAPL's capacity is 5.7 million. So if it's 5 million or less, 5.7 million barrels or less, their leak detection system wouldn't even detect it. Now, in the opinion, the court says that 6,000 would have been the number that could have leaked. 6,000 barrels of oil could have leaked without their leak detection system even detecting it. And so that directly called into question the context and intensity, of this issue, according and pursuant to a NEPA analysis. Again, the National Environmental Policy Act. Just a reminder, or just remember that this means that 1% or less of the capacity that is spilling out of DAPL won't be detected. It won't trigger that. And so that is atrocious. And again, I want to thank the Standing Rock Tech team, which worked very, very diligently to submit all of this expert opinion. It's their experts who substantiated this in a court of law, which essentially blew the Army Corps of Engineers out of the water. Because while the frontline fight was going on, the Army Corps of Engineers issued a finding of no significant impact. They call this a FONSI, finding of no significant impact, but it's a term from NEPA. And I do thank you for bearing with us, because some of this is diving into those legal weeds. But I'm an attorney, and so I have that responsibility. And anyhow, this term FONSI, the Army Corps of Engineers found no significant impact in the beginning, and then there some more happenings occurred, and they finally said that a mitigated finding of no significant impact would be appropriate for this, which means that the Army Corps, when Obama was in office, did not want to do a full environmental impact statement, and the tech team essentially blew that out of the water. The Standing Rock Tech team, they had to sue in order to require the feds to abide by their own laws. And the Standing Rock Sioux tribe was also joined by the Oglala Sioux tribe, the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, and the Yankton Sioux tribe. Now that's just leak detection. Another factor, and I'm just looking at the comments, somebody asked what can be done to help. Danny DeMarco, just continue to pay attention to and support those organizations that are assisting and helping in any capacity. So, just read the headlines. Earth Justice comes to mind, Indigenous Environmental Network, GNU Collective, Honor the Earth. Everybody who's doing frontline activism, Cheyenne River Grassroots Collective, 2KC Media. Just look these people up online, and stay tuned to what people are doing. That is probably one of the best ways that you can help, is just trying to stay informed, because like I said, it's we're getting a very good grasp or a reach with Cut to the Chase, and I owe that all to you who listen. And so but not everybody has the bandwidth to pay attention so closely, so we lose to those who can afford to proliferate their material, who can afford ad space. I mean, there's Facebook and social media and YouTube. It's all done according to these algorithms that you have to pay for. I mean, I remember when you could go viral organically. It's just not like that anymore. So that's why I say I appreciate every single one of you who tune in whenever we go live. Every Wednesday we do Cut to the Chase. Every one of you who comment, every one of you who share our material. And somebody is asking for a shout out for Canahoos Manual up there in the Trans Mountain Pipeline in Secwepemc territory. Reuben George, just thinking of Canahoos makes me think of Reuben George, because those are sister nations who are on the front line. Reuben George is about to start his own webcast on sacred ecology. And so I want to, every time I look at the comments, you guys pull me way out of my my train of thought here. But thank you for paying attention. Leak detection. That is the first issue that was exposed in the opinion. The next is the safety record of Sunoco. I mean, they have a horrible record of spilling oil. 8,600 barrels over 12 days in a quote unquote slow leak. A huge spill right near where I live in the Black Hills, right by the Belle Fourche River that is near Spearfish and flows right by one of our most sacred sites in Bear Butte. Thank you guys for checking in. I see somebody checking in from New York City, Catet territory. Everybody, hopefully, Tess, we can get to TikTok once we get this in order. But Sunoco, 276 incidents in 10 years from 2006 to 2016. Again, Standing Rock Tech Team exposed Sunoco as one of the dirtiest polluters in the industry. The expert that testified said this is one of the worst performing records of any pipeline operator industry wide for spills and releases. And Sunoco and Energy Transfer Partners are always being defended by the Army Corps of Engineers. If you read the opinion, they're constantly caping for them, constantly trying to defend Energy Transfer Partners and Sunoco. I mean, no cap. I had to throw a no cap in there. My kids will love that I threw a no cap in there. And they don't think I know how, the adolescents and the young adults of the day speak, but I'm on it. You guys need to watch out. Leak detection, Sunoco, the horrible spill record of Sunoco. And then third was the winter spill or winter or frigid winter impacts. And those of you who were at Ocheti or who live in the Dakotas or the Northern Plains know that it gets dangerously cold up here. And so again, Standing Rock's tech team exposed that the Army Corps had basically done nothing when it comes to contemplating for and preparing for what harsh and frigid tundra-like winters would do to potential adverse impacts, potential adverse events related to the pipeline. And then the fourth is, so the first is leak detection. The second is their horrible spill record. Third is inability or basically not preparing for winter spills and winter adverse events. The fourth is not assessing the worst case scenario discharge. According to the opinion, the Army Corps didn't even bother with it because, in their words, they need not consider the tribe's criticisms because an accident leading to a full bore rupture of the pipeline is extremely unlikely. Isn't that's unacceptable? The Army Corps, who is the federal agency supposed to be looking out for its own trust responsibility vis-a-vis the tribal nations, is saying the Corps, we don't need to bother with the need to consider the tribe's criticisms because an accident leading to a full-bore rupture of the pipeline is extremely unlikely and in any event not required by statute or regulations to calculate the worst case discharge scenario. And this is completely untrue, not only because of the treaties that we signed with the United States, but because President Biden has reinforced, recognized President Clinton's executive order 13175. So they have a duty to consult with tribal nations. That doesn't go as far as free, prior, and informed consent. And I saw Chasing Hawk said something about the doctrine of discovery. That's where that analysis comes in with free, prior, and informed consent. Is we have international identities as the Ocheti Shakawi, as tribal nations, as indigenous nations. Anyhow, the appellate court, based on all those factors, and again, leak detection, Sunoco's horrible record. Third was the non-preparation for a winter event, and the fourth was a worst case scenario discharge, failure to consider the worst case scenario discharge. Based on those reasons, the appellate court ordered a full environmental impact statement. And, if you're just joining, I know this is a lot to keep track of, but there was a hearing today in Washington, D.C., where the proponents of a respect relationship with Mother Earth, the proponents of upholding treaties and upholding federal law so that we can protect our water and our ecosystems for our progeny, we were all paying very, very close attention because we know that oil is flowing through the Dakota Access pipeline illegally. So we were all waiting for the Army Corps to do something to stop that flow of oil. And I do have a friend who was able to join us. He was a mentor, and during my case, when I was being charged for inciting a riot during the Dakota Access pipeline struggle, and that wasn't me, man. I was innocent. They basically framed me, blamed me, and gave me the credit for Last Child's Camp, and that does not belong to me. There are people behind the scenes who that belongs to, but that's for another day. When I was charged, when you're facing those felonies, you're under extreme duress, and people suffer. Your family suffers, and it takes a long time to come back from that. And so this state of affairs, this system that charges people like Oscar High Elk, who's facing a number of years for the KXL pipeline fight. Check him out on 2KC Media. This is a lot, and it's a struggle. But when I was facing those charges, a guy named Lanny Sinkin was one of my attorneys, and our crew, Cut to the Chase, was able to catch up with him. And I want to roll in a video of him. If you're just joining, this is going to be Lanny Sinkin talking about what just happened today with the Dakota Access pipeline. So, Control, if you can go ahead and roll that in.
What has happened is that there are two pathways for DAPL right now. One was to go to the Army Corps of Engineers and have the Army Corps of Engineers satisfy the regulatory requirement that they stop putting oil through the pipeline because the pipeline no longer has a valid environmental impact statement and no longer has a valid permit. So there's no reason that oil should be flowing through that pipeline. But the judge had allowed that to happen while further litigation went on. And now we've reached the point where the Biden administration, through the Army Corps of Engineers, is not going to stop the flow of oil. They basically have left the decision up to the judge, the federal judge, who initially ruled that they had to prepare an environmental impact statement and revoke the permit. So in April, mid-April, federal Judge Boasberg will have this hot potato back on his plate that nobody seems to want to deal with. And he will have to decide whether to follow the rules on entering an injunction and actually enter an injunction that stops the oil flow and could lead to the removal of the pipeline. So those are all conditions that are in play. The Biden administration has ducked. The federal judge will have to make a final decision, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you for that, Lanny. Lanny is out in Hawaii. He's probably gardening or checking his Easter egg hatch. But I do want to say thank you to the Cut to the Chase team for looping in Lekshi Lanny. I almost said brother Lanny, but he's one of our elders, and he broke it down right there. Judge Boasberg, he gave it back to the Army Corps of Engineers, he put it in the hands of a Democratic president, President Biden, and Biden just he ducked out. Thank you, Steve Oizumi. Biden ducked out. He, like Trump, could have ordered the Army Corps of Engineers to what in the opinion is called vindicate their property rights. Since the United States considers this to be federal property, the land, the navigable waters of the Missouri River, the Bureau of Reclamation and the Army Corps of Engineers have been fighting over influence in the Missouri River for a long time, since it was flooded pursuant to the Flood Control Act of 1944. I believe Standing Rock and Cheyenne River, it was finally flooded. I mean, economic terrorism, that's what happened there. And that was in 1958. And Peter Capicella, a longtime tribal attorney, has a whole book out on what happened with all of the tribes, the Mandan, Hidatsa, Arikara, Standing Rock, Cheyenne River, Lower Brule, Crow Creek, Yankton, Santee. This is when we were split and called river tribes, because before, anyway, I was about to tell you a long story, but they started calling. I grew up on the Standing Rock Nation, so I always heard that term. We're a river tribe, and I was and then now that I live on Pine Ridge, I'm like, yo, you can't just cut out, the Oglala Sioux tribe or the Rosebud Sioux tribe from claims deriving from this economic terrorism, this act of economic terrorism, when the Army Corps of Engineers and the Bureau of Reclamation flooded our lands. Mandan, Hidatsa, Arikara people were farming. They'd been farming for millennia, eons. They were providing for themselves. They lost 156,000 acres of prime farming land. Standing Rock, 56,000 acres. I mean, my grandmother lived right there, right next to the river. They called it Radio City. And I grew up in a place called what is now called Old Housing, because it's no longer there, but it was the oldest HUD homes that were probably existed in the late 70s or the early 70s. I grew up in those, and shout out to anybody that grew up in housing. You're still here, and you're surviving. Cheyenne River lost over 100,000 acres of its most prime agricultural, medicinal, economically viable lands with which we could provide for ourselves. So it's almost like they do not want us to succeed. They do not want us to prosper. And if you want to learn about that, I would suggest getting Peter Capicella's book. And I can't remember what it's called. If you want to look that up, Control, I'd like to give Peter Capicella a shout out. I think it's called By the River. It could possibly be called By the River. But when we talk about DAPL, you got to understand that I've been riding shotgun with my uncle Everett Iron Eyes since he used to take me and my cousin and my cousins and everyone else hunting on the Standing Rock Nation. He'd be in my ear all day long about water rights, about natural resource departments, tribal sovereignty, our treaties. And so I owe a lot of what's coming through to you, to Everett Iron Eyes and my mom, Bernice Iron Eyes, and anybody out there who might be listening from Standing Rock, give her a shout out from me. Besides Peter Capicella's book, there is one called Damn Indians. You're right. I can't remember who wrote that, but damned as in DAMNED. I took a detour there because when we're talking about the Dakota Access pipeline, we're talking about our reality, in that what we're having to face by these acts of international aggression and trespass. But I want to get to the issue at hand, and that is this special report about the Dakota Access pipeline. The appellate court, this DC Circuit Court, has ordered an EIS to be done. That means a full full environmental impact statement must be done within, well, the Army Corps within a few months, like 2 to 4 months. But those who I've talked to are looking more at sometime 21 for the environmental impact statement to be done. We've always just been asking the Army Corps and the federal government to abide by their own laws. Hold up, I'm being interrupted here. Sue Tindalzan, The Land Along the River by Peter Capicella. The Land Along the River. Go, I don't know if Peter is selling that on his own site or just go to Amazon. Wait, don't go to Amazon. Anyhow, go wherever you gotta go, but get that book. Go to eBay. Remember what it's like to get on eBay and be waiting, on edge for that auction to go out. Do that for Land Along the River by Peter Capicella, because in there you'll get an insight of what it was like growing up with guys like Everett Iron Eyes, guys like Tim Mintz, Virgil Alive, Ellen White Lightning, Phyllis Young. These are people from Standing Rock. Bob McLaughlin that just never gave up. Charlie Murphy never gave up the fight to equity for our people there, based on what the Army Corps of Engineers and the Bureau of Reclamation did to us, based on the economic terrorism that is still instigated against tribal nations. Anyhow, okay, I'm not going to look at the comments, at least for fights here. The easement was vacated. Oh no, I'm getting messages that I'm freezing. Am I coming in clear to everybody out there? Can everybody hear me and see me? Just let me know in the comment sections if I'm freezing up. Okay, all right, sweet. Thank you for that. Now, the appellate court vacated the easement in addition to ordering an EIS be done. They vacated the easement, so that means DAPL is currently operating illegally. Now, they're pending. They ordered it pending the EIS. So those are great things that have happened. Okay, we're just going to keep plowing through this, even though I broke up a little bit. It's probably because we always drop the truth here. We want you to be able to rely on us to bring you accuracy, to bring you cool analysis, wherever indigeneity intersects with the mainstream. That is where we're going with this. So again, two good things happened from that appellate court. One, a full EIS was ordered. That's a great. That means Standing Rock, Cheyenne River, Mandan, Hidatsa, Arikara nations are going to be able to participate and protect cultural and other resources, vital resources. EIS ordered. Second, the easement or the granted to Energy Transfer Partners was vacated. That means that DAPL is operating illegally, as recognized and ordered in this opinion. Now, the third item, which we thought was going to be resolved today, is still live. And that is that oil is still flowing illegally, and we need it to be shut down. Whether President Biden, the Army Corps of Engineers, or Judge Boasberg, or the appellate court orders it to shut down, doesn't matter, as this trespass be stopped. Now, the appellate court said that and this is it may well be that the law or the Corps' regulations oblige the Corps to vindicate its property rights by requiring the pipeline to cease operation. Now, this is pulled directly from the appellate court. So they're kind of suggest, look, Biden administration, you consider this to be your property. Now vindicate your property rights by stopping this illegal activity, which is the oil flowing through the pipeline. They call it a trespass in their analysis, and it is much more than a trespass. It is a clear and present threat to our safety. Now, originally, the Biden administration was expected to make that decision February 10th or 11th. I don't remember the exact day, but I remember because we were trying to do some media work with Standing Rock Council and Standing Rock Treaty officials, but they kicked it down the road. A judge then agreed to give it more time, and that was Boasberg. Boasberg agreed to give it more time to give the Biden administration officials a chance to get up to speed. And since that time, we've been waiting at the edge of our seats. And since that time, 33 Democrats, including Raul Grijalva just always shows up for Indian country. He's kind of Mark Ruffalo. He's like indigenous people's uncle de facto for some unknown reason. Mark Ruffalo shows up for indigenous peoples. So does Raul Grijalva, Ezra Miller, and Shailene Woodley. And I did not know Shailene Woodley is Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is part of those mega celebrities that signed and asked Biden to stop this illegal flow. Aaron Rodgers is listening to his woman. You are a smart man. Shailene was arrested at Standing Rock. If you remember, she was arrested for just live streaming. The same as I was, but Shailene Woodley, all the celebrities, I can't thank you enough, as well as those frontliners, you know, from the grassroots to the mainstream. We've got to lift each other up as much as possible. Those 33 Democrats called on Biden, saying that he should stop this pipeline and meet with officials from the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. Now, I'm sure that the Oglala Sioux tribe, the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, and Yankton Sioux tribe would be included in that because they're parties to this lawsuit. But they are all calling on Biden to stop this illegal activity that is happening because billionaires like Kelsey Warren. Warren donated to Trump's campaign. Trump invested in the Energy Transfer Partners pipeline. Even what the heck is that? Rick Perry. He's involved in this whole mix-up. These guys are just corruption at its finest, like over and over again. And now the Biden administration's decision to allow DAPL to keep operating is a victory for the billionaire class, for Energy Transfer Partners, for whoever they're selling that oil to. I mean, they always tout job development, economic impact. I mean, we're talking very temporary construction jobs. The only people that benefit are guys like Kelsey Warren, guys like Harold Hamm from Continental Resources. It's these already ultra-rich billionaires or 100 millionaires who benefit. And they're benefiting from our sacrifice, from our children's right to clean drinking water. That's our water. And you know what? That's our oil as well. So I wanted to add that in. Everybody who's still on the line, we plan to knock this out in 30 minutes, but I'd have to get an indication from control of how long we've been going. So we don't want to keep you more than an hour. It's Friday night, and you might feel all right. You might have plans tonight. I don't know. But before you go out, I want to thank you for tuning into this special report from Cut to the Chase. There's a Justice Department lawyer, Ben Schiffman. He told the United States District Court for the District of Columbia that the federal government has the authority to take enforcement action against the Dakota Access pipeline, which would include shutting down the pipeline. But according to Ben Schiffman from Biden's Department of Justice, it would not do that at this time. So we need to send the message loud and clear. Check out Earth Justice Go find them. They've got a petition. Check out Lakota People's Law Project. We've got a petition. Indigenous Environmental Network, NDN Collective probably has a petition. All hands on deck. Now, I'm going to start wrapping this up. Otherwise, I'm going to take you over an hour. And for some reason, I just don't want to keep you for more than an hour. I do thank you for tuning in, though. And remember, Wednesdays, every Wednesday at 5 Mountain Time, we will start a regularly scheduled cut to the chase. And if we have to deviate from that, we will let you know. But this Friday night is a special edition because of what happened with the Dakota Access Pipeline today. Now, Judge Boasberg, his name is James Boasberg, and I sat in his courtroom and watched him officiate. I believe the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe was in court that day, who is represented by Nikki Duchenot of Big Fire Law. Shout out to Cheyenne River. Shout out to President Killer at the Oglala Sioux tribe. And shout out to Yankton and everybody who's listening in, everybody who is representing these interests and trying to defend Mother Earth and defend our sovereign rights. I just want to say thank you. Hold up, let me grab something to drink. Freaking going nutty over here. Anyhow, Boasberg gave Dakota Access Pipeline, each side, 10 days to file updated legal declarations, 10 days to supplement their briefs, to address the impacts of a potential shutdown. So they've got 10 days to get their last word into Judge Boasberg. And like Lanny Sinkin said, the Army Corps has abdicated its responsibilities to vindicate its property rights according to colonial law, and they've put it back in the hands of Judge James Boasberg. And he is going to get those briefings within 10 days from today. Now, according to reports, that means a ruling could be forthcoming sometime in May of 2021. I keep seeing 30 days, and I know there's a lot to keep track of. It moves fast, and all of you have your own lives and your own things to do every single day. Just know that we are doing our damnedest to keep an eye not only on the Dakota Access Pipeline, but on the Keystone XL pipeline. We always promote Line 3, the GNU Collective, Terra Hauska, Honor the Earth, and then in the comments, Canahoos. Everybody check out Ruben George, Chief Ruben George on Sacred Ecology. He's about to have his own webcast. Like, we just need to promote each other's content, because the CNNs, the NBCs, the ABCs, the alphabet media boys are not going to put us on. So we've got to put ourselves on. And I'll do my best all the time to make sure that we cover this, because Standing Rock Sioux Tribe is at risk, completely invested, carrying this fight on. Cheyenne River, the Oglala Sioux Tribe, Yankton, the entire Oceti Shakowee need us to keep the pressure on. This is a political fight as well as a technically legal one. But there is nothing that is not political. What is happening in the courtrooms is dependent on and responding to whatever is happening on the ground, whatever is happening in media. Now, the Army Corps of Engineers seems to be stalling. They keep asking for more time. They keep kicking it down the road, while at the same time making it known that they are unwilling to stop the illegal flow of oil. That is not a good thing. Biden won because of Standing Rock. Biden won because of Black Lives Matter. Biden won because we want him to liberate the indigenous children who are being trafficked at the border between the United States and Mexico. We want them reunited with their families, not upgraded to nice influx facilities. There is a tiny bit of progress going on there. Biden won because we want an end to the endless war machine. Biden won because we want Medicare for all. We want student loan relief. We want a minimum wage that works for people. That's why Biden won. It's not time to get the blue team in there and think that the corporate extractive industry that has been controlling these politicians for so long, probably since this country's inception, or the last real one seems to be JFK, the last leader, not a politician. That's why Biden won, and we cannot forget that. We must never forget that, because we have to hold their feet to the fire. They don't get a pass. You know what I mean? Like remember the meme with the homeless spikes. Under the Republicans, it's gray stainless steel homeless spikes. Under the Democrats, it's LGBTQ plus rainbow homeless spikes. They are not going to get a pass. That is why Biden won. He doesn't get to get in office and then just forget about us. That is not going to happen because of all the organizers, because of all of those who continue to press the front line. And during my last broadcast, I left out Joseph Whiteeyes. When I was giving shout outs to everybody, everything that went down in DC, Joseph Whiteeyes locked down, as did others. I can't hit every single name or get every single comment, but I'll do my best to give those shout outs and recognize, give those props and witness for you when things go down, like with Jacelyn Charger facing a year in jail for the Keystone XL pipeline, like Oscar High Elk facing years in prison for his actions to defend our right to clean water in the face of the Keystone XL pipeline. Those at Line 3, those up at TMX in Sequitma territory, those in the Gulf of Mexico. I can't remember the name of this pipeline, but Bahila or something like this. I get hit up with so many requests. I get hit up, my inbox, my DMs, all that stuff is always flooded because people are beginning to ask me to share ideas for Cut to the Chase. And if you have something that deserves to be highlighted, please message us, find a way to get a hold of us at Lakota Law or at Last Real Indians, or I haven't turned my my messaging on for my Chase Iron Eyes public page just because things got a bit crowded, and sometimes when you give yourself to the people or to the world, sometimes you need to shut off and retreat and regroup and re-strengthen yourself. And that's what I did. I was off Facebook for, I don't know, how long did I last? Does anybody remember? At least October to February, I believe. At 5 months, maybe 6 months. Did I make it a half a year? I don't know. But every now and then you got to detox from this stuff. And that's all I was doing. But we are back. We have launched Cut to the Chase. This is was almost episode 10, but maybe episode 9.5. This is a special report on the Dakota Access pipeline, and we will continue to shine a light on the front line and on those places where indigeneity intersects with pop culture, intersects with mainstream issues of the day. We support workers' rights. We want to shout out Movement for a People's Party. People's Party has also launched their own webcast. I mean, there's progress and force evolving every single day, and you are all a part of it. I don't say that flippantly. Everybody who is logging on, Pura Fay, wow, Pura Fay from Eulalie. Eulalie is on. That is a high honor. Maybe we'll contact you about using Eulali's music, because Eulali's music got me through, my mid adolescent years. From the time I was 18, 19, I was working down in the Black Hills. Me and a brother named Wiyaka chasing hawk, and every single day after work, I would go back to our cabins and I would throw on Eulali while reading In the Spirit of Crazy Horse by Peter Matheson, which details COINTELPRO's war on American Indians. But COINTELPRO also went to war with the Black Panthers, any kind of or civil rights movement, the Brown Berets, I mean, the Weather Underground. And yeah, some of you may disagree with their tactics and so forth, but we are literally fighting racist fascists. Do not forget that. And do not take that lightly. That's why we got to show up to vote. That's why we got to show up on the front line. That's why we got to show up in the halls of Congress. That's why we got to press those who were elected to lead us. We want to see a different world while we're alive, and for our children after we cross into the great reality. And every single person out there who might catch wind of this, who has a struggle in their own right, in their own lives, I recognize that your time is valuable. And with that, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. This has been a special episode, and our brother Chuck Banner is on the road. He wasn't able to be helping out behind the scenes as one of the producers, one of the technicians, one of the engineers. We do have a brother named Chris Sheritz, aka DJ Physic, who is working the turntables behind here. He's the guy that threw on Natani Means, probably got me in trouble for some cuss words, but that's all right. I requested it. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for listening in. Please like, comment, and share from the beautiful, sacred, and powerful Black Hills. It's my honor to spend a little bit of time with you tonight. Have a good evening. This has been Cut to the Chase special episode, and we are out.